Okay, welcome to the new technology session. Yes, my name is Eckhard Jäger. I came from Germany and I'm art director of Area 42, and I'm the developer, one of the main developers of the VRML and X3D export scripts bundled with Blender, and I create for Bit Management, which is another German company and quite more advanced exporter, and I like to show this today. Before we starting, I will just give you a short introduce about the X3D format. X3D is the successor of VRML, which was the first open standard of 3D describing language that came out late in the 90s. And X3D has done as a very improved format because it uses now the XML syntax. It is easy to read. And it has a lot of more modules than VRML has. Yes, the typical 3D data that using instances and originals. You have texturing that can use multi-texturing with the different kind of environment mappings. You have an interaction module that makes interactivity possible, like clicking objects, moving objects, and something like this. Networking modules for is this external source loaded or LOD, level of detail objects, and of course scripting for your own function. This is based on JavaScript. It's easy to learn and not quite difficult. And now we have support for shading. That means you can hack in your own hardware shader for pixel and vertex shader, create a very impressive appearance. And new is we have physics. This was missing because X3D has a lot of new features that makes it possible to creating games, publishing over the net or mobile devices, whatever you want, CD-ROMs. But physics is always missing. You have always done this by foot, and now it's a part of the standard. And what's missing there is on the screen is there's also a geo component for geographical information system. So it's quite a lot. And with the CAD standard, you have such a bunch of possibilities. And it's well developed, and there's a lot of viewers for different kind of platforms. And it makes it possible to publishing this data or this visualizations games on handhelds, it's on DVDs and so on, and over the net, of course. And yeah, so especially for here today, I have developed a new version that I'm showing here. It's first time official shown. It has a lot of new features because with the growing possibilities of the API, Python API of Blender, I always develop the exporter of bit management further. We have optimized it for the new Blender version. We have added some details for developers, like that has control the source code formatting, controlling of the visibility of the cameras. Now with the new Blender registry model, all your settings of the export dialog that we will see later will be saved. And we have a lot of more texture options, including procedural textures. They will be not exported as images, they will be exported as procedural textures as well. That means you can create 3D stuff in this format without using an image. And yes, and a lot of compatibility things with the new version of Bit Management Contact. And I added an advanced report for developers, what will be exported and what will be done, and take a look at which layers has been visible and which layers will be not visible. So only the visible things, like in rendering of Blender, will be exported. The main goal to developing this exporter was always to make it easy. We have yesterday seen the Crystal Space people, which have shown some interesting stuff, but from my personal view, it looks quite difficult to understand how it should work. So my goal was to always make it easy, to make it in the way you normally use Blender when you try to creating a rendering image. Of course, I can't support any thing of Blender, but most times, and I try to support it in the way you use Blender normally. So that's enough for to speech. Let's show some things. Here's Blender, as you know. Of course, it's a normal way. You have just to go, when you create something, to export. You have here the exporter. And the difference is, at first, you see a dialog. It's a complete dialog. Here, you can browse for the file. You can use compression or not, as whether you like. We have some settings about what kind of source code formatting, or will I export vertex colors, and so on. And well, export animations. This exporter supports multi-texturing. It supports animation as well. Yeah, I will later come to some future plans about this. And you can add metadata in the dialog, like I have created, and the name of the scene is this. And this all will be now stored because they're using the new Blender registry module, and so they can go on with that. On the next export, you have not set up all again. So, okay. The third thing I will introduce is the tricks. And the thing that I must say, there are no tricks because you have to use Blender in a normal way. And for instance, we will starting with environment effects. Let's take a look at the world object. It's just a moment. So here it is. So the exporter will take care of what you have here clicked on this stage. The colors you have set up here will take care of what kind of mist or fogging you use. And you can also add textures background. That means when you use a texture for your background in your Blender scene, this can also be exported in the complete X3D scene. And here's a little example about this. Just a second. You see, there's the background. All those flowers out of the background image, and it's just set up in the background, no world settings of Blender. And the way it worked is very easy. Just have to look at, oh, where was it? Special notes? Yes, here. This documentation is free available too, like the exporter on the net, and he has shown what is supported and how does it work, and what you must think about when you like to have extended features. And to know which texture should be placed, because X3D deals with the cubic environment of the world, you have just to type in the names top, bottom, left, right, front, and back. And so it knows where the texture that you put in this channel should be located. I try to use a lot of features of Blender itself. You know, there's nice things like radiosity. And I will hope I could find this now. Just a moment. Yes. This is just a normal demo, as you know, from the Blender regression suite. It shows how to generate the radiosity. You know, when you set collect the meshes and set go on, he starts calculating the light and out the rays in this room, and creates nice shadows. So, and we must wait a little bit when it's ready. So, and when he is ready with his calculation, you know, we will calculate reflection of colors and so on. You can replace the meshes with the meshes that were calculated. And this is the data of the radiosity was stored in vertex colors. And I will support this. And additionally, you can add textures over the vertex colors. And it looks like this. Oh, you have to look. Oh, where was it? No. The mouse is working, not nice. So here it is. I did like this. Yes. So this is the same scene, and it's exported. Yeah, and you see, this is real-time 3D. You can move it, you can turn it, and there's a, oops, oh, sorry, just some clipping things. You know, there's just a simple placement of the texture in the over the vertex color, and it makes it look really fantastic and really real. The thing was, I hope so long it's texture baking come into Blender, and I will show now a very impressive example what we can do with texture baking and radiosity. I hope I can support the texture baking too. Now at the moment from Blender itself, it's just supported the radiosity baking. I must say, this demo isn't mine. This is made by Laurent Privard. He is a French guy, he makes amazing stuff with this technology. You will see it took a while. Oh, hoping there's no problem. Yes, here we go. And this is an example of yes, baked rendering data. This especially using baked textures. But something like this could be now created with Blender using baked vertex colors. And it's quite impressive, and they did a lot of tricks. You know, always the trick of real-time 3D is how to fake things. It is not possible to make everything like you're rendering some things, but you can fake a lot of things like this ray of light with faces. Yeah, there come we up to the next. When you try to do something like that, you must be able that you can go through these faces that showing the ray of light. So you must control if this object has a collision or has no collision. That means you can go through, or you must stop at it. And this could be easily done in Blender. Just hello? Yes, okay. So you know, there's when you switched with an object to the face mode, I have to look at it, it's not mine. You have these, this panel here. And make it a little bit bigger so you can see it better. Hello, where is it? Oh, what's it for keyboard? Oh. Okay, that's fine. So big enough. What I do here is I support this collision thing, so that you can go going through faces, or you must stop up them. And I will support the billboard and halos. You know, when you will have faces that always stick to the camera. Yes, you have just to go to the edit mode and have just to set this up and set to copy draw mode to all faces, and that's all to have this trick inside the file you like exported. And what can be done with halos, I like to show another example I did. I make it for an award, and I was the first place runner-up. That means at the beginning they have just the first place honored, but they like mine so much that they give me the first place runner-up. And it is like this one? No, that is this one, but it's the wrong thing. Okay, again. So, that's it is. You see, there's a nice corona around this brilliant, this diamond, and this is made with a lot of halos that are located on the edges of the object, and they're looking always to the camera. That's when I started. Can we make it a little bit bigger? So, And when I started to rotate the object, it has always this shiny, nice look. And here we come to another very easy to control feature. It's a reflection. You know, you see it's look quite nice. It reflects, and it, I try to make it look like a real diamond. It was not easy to construct and to doing the reflection stuff. And the most thing I saw in real-time 3D things was they used a reflection map, of course. But there are some things like they took a sky texture and it's inside a room, and you ask yourself, where's the sky in this room? But they put it in sky texture because they like something to reflect on this object. There's a nice feature in Blender, you know, the env map, the environment map that is created on rendering. When you put an env map on an object, Blender creates this what must be reflected on this object. And you can save this image. And so, I will close this just in a few seconds. Where's here? Where we are? Here we are, okay. So, when you have such object, I open this demo file from the regression suite again. It's called, where was it? No. This is this one. This is the radio room. Okay. Damn, I lost it. Okay, it's you know this Raptor file where they have created this one, and I like to show what Blender doing is horrible mouse. You know, this is from the regression suite. You have this raptor with this metal shiny sphere, and this is the environment map that Blender generates itself when you new, yes. When you go in Material, Texture, and select here Env Map, and on Rendering, when there's something to reflect, there isn't something to reflect, make and start with some simple environment. So, the world, yes. Okay, add new. Stop, so there. So you have here such options, cubic, plane, and so on. And I hope they did it. Lights missing and so on. Okay. And then you can say, save the end map here. And when you have saved it, you can load it again. I used the end map that I generated. So it looks like this, and this can be exported. So you have a real good reflection in real-time 3D on your object, because render generates this reflection map, and it looks pretty well instead of using just a sky texture where there is no sky. Okay, another thing is, of course, this exporter supports the multi-texturing. You can add different texture channels as you would use for rendering. And what is new to this is it supports now procedural textures. That means when you create a new texture channel and selecting the Musgrave texture, this algorithm and this values it has here is very similar to the same that uses the bit management context viewer. And so you have supported things like here and like here for creating a procedural texture, and it will be exported as a procedural texture, not as an image. That means you can generate a big environment with some lawn on it without using a texture. And here's, I have a short demo. It's just a technical demo of procedural textures. And I think it must be this one. Yes. No, that's the wrong one because I didn't get the colors. Here's it. So every time I touch the mouse or I go over this object, it changed the texture, and this is done by procedural textures. You see in the folder is nothing of an image, just showcase images and just the environment map. Oh, what's that? Oh, oh, damn! No! I want here. Okay. So, and it's always changed because when you move, this is some kind of showing of interactivity. When you moved your mouse over the object, it recognized it in the 3D space, and then it set up another algorithm for procedural texture. And you can control the colors of this texture. I know they look very psychedelic. And you control also the resolution of the texture using all the normal features that are in Blender. Wrong. Here. I have to do this bigger again. So, okay. It's like what kind of fractal, the octaves and so on, the scaling, the noise scaling and so on. This is all supported, and yes. Blender has some kind of other nice features, like the possibility to export, like the possibility to create particles, and I tried to support them too. And it's quite easy possible because as normally you have just to add them. Now they're a new panel. So, and you have just to set up all the values like you ever do. And I support also, so if you have create another object, let's take a plane. And select the original object. And make a parent. And you set up like a Blender dupli words. You know this plane will be used as a particle. And so you can use meshes as particles, and you can use normal halos as particles, and you can define the what it looks like. Adding when you use a mesh as a particle, you can define it looks like when you set up the materials and textures of this mesh. And when you have no mesh, when you have just an emitter, so adding the particle effect to a mesh without parenting, you control it by setting up this mesh. And what it looks like in X3D and what can be done with it is very easy. There is first an older demo I made. It was the Volt. Yes. So here's, here's a fireplace, a little candle, and you see it smoking. Or, yes, and what you see too is, I support a lot of animation in this exporter, not just moving objects. It supports moving cameras, changing colors, and changing lines. As you see, there's a nice atmosphere just when the lights just flickering a little bit or so. Or you have here moving fogging at the ground, and you can walk through. Oops, there's no way, sorry. Yeah. And all that can be done from the Blender exporter. Most things without editing after export and editor. It all can be created in Blender and can be exported, and you must just drop it in a viewer and you can view it. That's the fine thing about it. You must not compile something or add extra stuff. When you like to add extra stuff in it, there's a nice way. Because I use always the text editor component in Blender. That means you have the internal text editor, and there are some nice things like when you create a new file and give it the name start. Oops, everything what you typed in here will be put in the file at the beginning. That means when you're when you are familiar with X3D and know how the language works and how it could be scripted, you can do all your stuff in this text editor, and it will be exported. The same as when you name the file here, and all the stuff you put in will be located at the end. I will show you at the documentation. I closed it. Okay, that's not good. Okay, just a few seconds. So I can show you where to find the documentation. It's not so easy. When you go to the bit management side, going to the workflow tools, say I want to know something about the BS exporter for Blender. BS stands for bit management software, and then you have here consult the documentation. Here's everything explained I was showing here. And there are captures special nodes, and here's protos and scripting. So this is an example. So we put, you see, this is like X3D looks in its source code. It's XML syntax, and yes, it's well documented. It's an open standard. You can read what this all here means. And this is some kind of scripting. That means when you have the CData JavaScript function, and you have here some inputs and some outputs, and the inputs are these things that go here in value and timestamp, and so you can change some things. I will stick into this because it's more extended. But in the same way, you can now create shaders. Where's Blender? There's Blender. Of course, you have an object like this, or we'll take this. And this object has a texture channel, and you like to add a shader to this object. You can do this when you copy the name of the material. So you copy the name of the material, give it to the text editor when it would work. Oh, I use always functions instead of controls, sorry. So, and then you can start here writing your shader into it, if you know how to use it. I can't writing shaders, so I can't show you how this works because I cannot. But I can show you some impressive shader examples. So the difference is some viewers supporting OpenGL shading, and some viewers supporting DirectX shading. So you have always to keep in mind which viewer you like to support. When you like to support the bit management viewer, you have to write here shader code in, what's the name from Microsoft? The format was, the DirectX format was FX, so it's not CG from NVIDIA, it's the other thing. So you have to write this syntax into it. And what we can do with that is, here's another impressive example from Laurent Privat, was, no, this have we seen? Where's the dragon? Yes, it. Was it this one? Okay. Yes. No, this is, sorry, this is the wrong file. Here is it. Didn't saw it. So this is another example that shows what can be done with shaders using X3D. And this could be published over the net, this could be published on handhelds and so on. It's quite impressive. Of course, you know, this is a lot of faking also. They are, to get this kind of looking at this translucency, and so, of course, it's a fake. It's not real-time translucency, but you can do this by using special textures and a little bit of shading, writing shaders. So I can't do that because that's not my area. Anyway, it looks impressive, and yes, it's easily to create in Blender. So another thing that is especially supported are real-time shadows. They just easily to create, because all what you must do is in Blender, I reset the scene, an object, and just a plane. And I drag this a little bit down. And so you have just to parenting the plane to the object and gives the plane a name that's called shadow. And with a dot, you can give the object its name itself, shadow test, for instance. So then the cube will make a shadow on this plane, on the size of the plane. And so it's an easy way to create real-time shadows, and it looks like this. Yeah, I got too many folders here. Ah, yeah. So don't look at this. It's just some else. You see, there's a light moving. Yes, and with the light, the shadows will be calculated on this plane in another direction. And you can set up when you set up in Blender the material of the plane, you can set up there how does the shadows look like. The plane will not be exported because it's just a fake plane to know where the shadows should be received. Yes, that's all. When I showed the developers of bit management how particles in Blender work, they found it quite interesting because they have up to this just particles that came from an emitter point. And I showed them that in Blender, the emitter can be an object, and it's quite nice. And so they was be a little bit inspired of this. And now, it's not my computer, it's a problem. And now they have made, as you see, that's the typical teapot thing, and now they have made particles, make it available in the new version of Contact, which is version 7, to use an object as an emitter, as Blender does. And this will be supported in the new version 2. Okay, here I come to an end. Perhaps going down. Any questions about this, about making this? Yes.
Yeah, I was just wondering about the last point that previously there were only like singular emitter points, and now you can use like a surface as an emitting thing. And so how does that work when X3D is a standard? Does the standard have it, or is it somehow outside the standard where you did that in this viewer? Or how does it go?
Yes, I have to explain. There particles at all are standard. That's correct. They added to the standard like many other things, but to use a mesh as an emitter is an extension of bit management. Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is always a lot of extension that bit management does will always moved into the, not always, often moved to the standard because they create a lot of things and have a lot of ideas. They have the ideas support, they came up with the ideas supporting NURBS in X3D. And this is standard now in X3D to have NURBS, and which sometimes Blender have standard NURBS, so I can support them too. And of course, some extensions that be generated by the exporter are bit management extensions. But you can easily modify them loading such a file on a text editor because it's XML syntax, and you see, okay, that's the text and that's the attributors.
Well, what about importing?
Yeah, I was, yes, we were talking together about scientific data, and well, I'd like to write now together with him an importer storing X3D data back to Blender, so when you have exports and lost the original files, you can import them. It took a little bit of time. Okay, there was, somebody has a question.
WRL, and for X3D will change or
sorry, I didn't understand.
you know, for the files. I don't know X3D at all, and it seems to be the next generation of WRML. No.
Yes,
VRML.
X3D is the successor of VRML. It is the successor. It's just they renamed VRML to X3D because they moved to this XML syntax, and with a lot of new features. And it was X3D was the first format that was concepted for interchange and for the web. Then came up Collator, and because Intel left the Web3D consortium, they came up with Universal 3D, which is just available over PDF documents.
Yeah, but for the moment, we will have to use the WRL extension, or we'll come up with X3D extension.
The W.
File names. Do you understand?
No, sorry. Okay. No. Okay. Yes. This is. X3D supports the original idea of X3D was writing it in XML, and so. But some companies and developers didn't think the idea such nice because they stayed years in the old VRML syntax, and so we have both in the X3D file: the old classic encoding and the XML encoding. So when it named VRL, you know this is an old encoded file, but when the extension is X3D, you know it's a new encoded file like in XML. But like the bit management viewer, you can open this one and said, I didn't like that, but I like to read the source. It saves stated, and here you can say, oh, no, not here. Why? Okay, normally, this is not my computer. Normally you can save this state then as an X3D file and so have a better look at the sources. I personally didn't like the old syntax, but yes, many people use it anyway. And so both is supported in X3D.
All right. So we use the same interpreter than VRML. There is no specific interpreter for X3D. I mean,
no, it's specific because it has much more features that VRML didn't has.
Yeah, I did understand.
But most viewers can view both, can view old VRML files and can view new X3D files.
Yeah, but which one should we use to get all the interest of the X3D? Which interpreter is the best? BS?
BS Contact, my personal favorite is it, because it has the most features, best quality, but you have also some free viewers or for Linux or Mac OS X. There are several. When you have a look, you have just to look at there's an official site of the standard. It's so www. It's a Web3D.org site, and there we have something new like hey ho, X3D adds the support for NURBS, or like hey we stay here on Blender conference, and here you have a lot of things like development, the specification, a wiki, forum. What kind of tool groups, what kind of tools, what kind of open source groups existing, and so on. And so we have to look, okay, there are viewers for Unix systems, Windows systems. The problem of Contact is it's full functionally only on Windows. I wish they will change it sometime, so I believe it on it. Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Any other questions?
So is your export with the exporter, is that compliant with the X3D standards, or are there also features that are not in X3D that only can be viewed with your viewer?
Yes, the exporter uses some extensions. That's true. He puts some things in the exported files that are not the standard only. There are some extensions of it, but you can easily replace this or change this, and or add in there's a there's a way to make it work using it has a name extern protos. That means the special feature can be explained as a special feature, and you can make a fallback mode. So when you have the bit management viewer, it can view it in all fantastic colors and something like this. I can show you an example. For instance, I have here an it's close. I have here an old demo I did for another contest, and where was it? Words here. Words. It was about a nice toy for children. And so just to view this in the Internet Explorer. Where is it? Where's file open here? What's that? Yeah, something. Oh, okay. That's the new Windows Vista. Huh. It's not implemented. Maybe let's try to here. Ah, yeah, here. So you see, this is some kind of toy, and it has movement, and you can click on it, and you see camera changing, and so all these things, interaction, and so on. This is especially made for another viewer, but you see it's working on this viewer because it has fallback modes. Made look not so nice on the eyes because there must be a reflection, and it was made for another viewer that is not very stick not very much on the standard. But you see, it's playable, it's viewable. It's like on internet browsers. So may some things, when it's done good, it may some things not work correct, but it works at all. Here's another example of some tricks you can do with moving textures. And the feature what I'm really missing in Blender is easy create moving textures. What you see here as flakes that falling down is just a texture on 3 shapes with different scaling. The one is very close to this object here I can rotating, and the second is a little bit farther, and the third is a lot far away. And this textures is scaled in different sizes, so you have big flakes and small flakes, and they all fall down with different speed. But that aren't objects, it's just textures moving along faces. So just one of the trick, or maybe I can show you something other. It will fill out my last minutes. There's, you know, also, yes. Okay. So this is always this is my German community I founded, and this is showing the same thing. You see the rates is just rotating textures. The stars that moving slowly is a moving texture on a tube, and the other thing that moving faster is a second texture on the same tube using multi-texturing. Okay, so we must come to an end. Thanks a lot.